Welcome to another episode of Artifacts, where our lives affect art inside out. I am your host, Jade Hassel, and today I'm in conversation with Bermudian fashion stylist and writer, Shantia Seymour. Shantia Seymour is a Bermuda-born, London-based fashion editor and stylist. Throughout high school, she tried to figure out how to morph together her love for literature and fashion, which bloomed into becoming a fashion writer. She interned for many locals who taught her different aspects of the industry to see where she fit in best. From purse making, fashion writing, garment sewing, and editorial styling. After graduation with a degree in journalism and fashion styling, she decided to stay in London to pursue her dreams. For a moment, she dipped into the world of textiles and created a line called House of Aiyanna. From a small island girl to now having features in Essence and Repeller, she urges everyone to follow their dreams, because your origin is never too small and dreams are never too big. If you would like to connect with Shantia, you can find her online on Instagram at shantia.aiyanna. Good afternoon, Shantia. Welcome to the Artifacts podcast. We're super excited to have you on the show today. Thank you so much for joining us in conversation.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, I absolutely love everything that you're doing on Instagram. It's so beautiful, like seeing your fashion and your styling and just seeing how you've incorporated like your writing and really taken your career to a whole new level. I'm so happy to be in conversation. So I wanted to ask you first, can you tell us a little bit about your background and what it was like growing up in Bermuda for you?
So, growing up in Bermuda, as you guys can see from my Instagram, living the island dream.
Right.
I've always been like the typical island girl. Bermuda has so many things that are so beautiful that it's easy to be a creative or to, have a muse for your art. So growing up, I don't know if anyone listening has been in my bedroom. It's very island girl. It's very tropical. And I've even, taken that kind of vibe to London with me.
Right.
So growing up was very, island girl life. I went to Bermuda Institute. Then I went to the Berkeley Institute.
Berkeley, right? Recipe cake for ma'am.
Keep the and in view.
Yes.
And actually, when I got to Berkeley, that's where, my creativity kind of blossomed.
Mm-hmm.
I was in art class with Miss Deal. And
Miss Deal.
and I wasn't too much into sketching, but I knew that I wanted to one day, incorporate that into like fashion illustrations. That's what I was interested in.
Mm-hmm.
And so after that, I went on to just figure out what I wanted to do in the art world.
Right.
So growing up in Bermuda was very artsy for me, I guess you could say.
Yes, definitely. And like you were saying, I mean, it's definitely easy to grow up in such a beautiful place and feel creative.
Yes.
Sure. Did you have like lots of support from family and friends for you deciding when you were pursuing an artistic career?
Yeah, so no one in my family does anything that has to do with the arts except for my uncle, my mom's brother. He was much like me, wanted to, go out and study art.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, my grandpa was like, no, you're going to do something that's, like the norm, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
And my uncle is now into architecture.
Okay.
So he's an architect now. And, I kind of took his story and had to figure out, because just like my grandpa, my parents were like, no, you need to go do something else. So after graduating from Berkeley, I went to Canada and I studied international business. And,
really? I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. So, and then I was there for a year, and it just it wasn't my passion, and I wasn't into it, and I wasn't like I just knew that's not where I belong. So I came back and I went to Bermuda College And because my mom was like, you can't just sit here and do nothing.
Right,
So
right.
I went to Bermuda College, studied art as well, and did some art courses. And then I was like, you know what? If I'm going to do this fashion thing, I need to prove to my parents. So just like my uncle, he had to prove that, everyone in my family is either a teacher or, have I guess normal jobs. So just like him, I had to prove that I can do this. So I took it upon myself to get my accommodation. I literally wrote out a plan and I presented it to my parents, and I said, look, this is what I want to do and I can do it. Just trust me. Please just give me this one chance. If I mess up, cool. But if I do it, then, please just trust me. So they were like, okay. So 2 weeks later, I was on a plane.
Oh, wow. That fast?
Yep.
So you applied to school?
Yep. I did everything.
Wow, that's awesome.
Everything. So I made sure, and I, made them a whole booklet, and this is where I want to stay, and this is the school, and this is the contact numbers, and here are my friends who live in London, like everything. I made sure that everything was like perfect so that they could, give me that chance.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, so I just went for it. Like, I've never been to London before. I've never even been to the UK before. And I flew by myself, and I ran, and I just figured it out.
Oh, that's awesome. That's incredible. Interestingly, I also had a similar experience for me too. Like, I was in law school, also here in the UK, and I was like, this is not for me. And you like literally just took a leap and was like, I need to do what I love. So I love hearing, when people make the decision for themselves to step into their purpose and into their creativity and like truly be who they are. Because I think, like you were saying, like with your uncle, he didn't really have the support from your grandfather because it wasn't like a traditional kind of profession.
Right.
And in Bermuda, it's very much so like that. Like sometimes you only know like we're just seeing like more push for arts and things like that. But usually like, we're pretty much groomed to do like law, international business, teaching, like, very traditional pathways. So it's really nice to hear that you started out that way, but then you made your own decision and planned it out and executed it. I mean, to be honest, like that was super creative too, like coming up with a booklet and explaining everything to your parents. That's awesome. I mean, they couldn't say no, right? At that point.
I know.
Yeah, definitely. I wanted to ask you, because you also have a love for literature and fashion. So can you talk a little bit about how you merged the two in your career?
Yeah, so when I was younger, still to this day, my grandma, she lives across the street. She was a reading teacher.
Okay.
So growing up, I had to have perfect handwriting, and I learned to read at an early age, and everything was surrounded by books. If I wasn't at summer camp during the summers, I would be next door with my grandma reading a book. And so that's kind of where the whole love for literature came about. So, growing up, I was like, okay, in high school, I was like, how do I, morph together writing and books and, all of that, and then fashion. So then in high school, I started Googling all the different jobs they have in the fashion industry that could incorporate writing. And obviously I came upon fashion writing. Yeah, it was my goal since that day that I wanted to write for a magazine when I got older.
Right.
That was my way of, morphing them together, because I couldn't decide if, like, should I go and at first I wanted to be a teacher, like my grandma and my mom. So, that would be the literature side and the writing and things like that. But then I was like, I don't really want to be a teacher,
Right.
but I wanted to incorporate fashion. So yeah, that's what I came out with.
Yes, that's awesome. Because that's the thing, like we sometimes have multiple interests.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when we like morph in the two loves together, like you can
Mm-hmm.
have like a more creative approach to whatever it is that
Yes.
you're doing. So it's awesome
Yeah.
to hear about that.
So many times I hear people say like, I wish I could do what I love, when they're at a job and they're like, I just did it just because, or for the money, or for
Right.
parents, or whatever. It's just like people come to me like, man, like I wish I had a creative job, like, and they're good at painting, but then they're a lawyer, and it's like, oh, I didn't know you could do that, like,
Right.
So, I had to figure out how to just morph it all together so that I would love it.
Yes. And I'm glad you made the decision, because I think it's one of the hardest decisions that we can make. Because I mean, I went like back and forth about it so many times before I actually made the decision. And I think, I think it takes like a level of bravery to do it, because, like obviously you are thinking about like, okay, possibly I could fail at this. It may not work. If I walk away from this security, like where am I going to end up? And
Absolutely.
it is a scary thing to do, but honestly, it's so rewarding. Like, it's so
you
exciting.
You won't know until you try.
Exactly. And
even if you fail, there's so many times where I was in London and I failed at something, and I didn't want to call my parents and tell them, so I just like kind of thugged it out, and I was like, I have to put a big girl pants on and like just keep going. Like you're not always gonna get that well done or congratulations. Like you are gonna go through some crazy things, like but
it's worth it. It's worth it at the end. Because you grow and you learn and you evolve as a person. And it's definitely worth it in the long run, for sure. How would you describe your fashion style?
I love this question. I would describe it as I love mixed prints, very colorful, and I'm not very trendy. I like to take trends and make it my own. A lot of people, I guess, in Bermuda, when people speak to me and they're like, oh, you will be a Bermudian influencer. I don't really like the word influencer.
Right.
I just feel like everyone is kind of just who they want to be, but I wouldn't consider myself an influence. I don't want anyone, but especially being in London, I'm going to influencer events and fashion week and things like that. You see girls in the same exact outfit, and it's like, and so I guess I like to take a trend and make it my own. So I don't really follow trends. I obviously know what's trending, but I mean, I don't know. Trends always repeat themselves, and I'm really interested in like vintage fashion.
Nice.
I like 80s and 90s fashion and things like that. So history always repeats itself. Fashion always repeats itself. So what is really trending.
Exactly. And it's interesting seeing the 90s and even the early 2000s styles are starting to pop back up as well. That's becoming a thing. You had just mentioned that you don't really want to consider yourself like an influencer. Why? What's the thought about the word for you?
I feel like people have taken the word influencer and just ruined it in a way. Right. Not so much in Bermuda, but definitely like in London and different places. It's just milked to the max. And I don't know, everyone just wants to, like I said, they all look exactly the same. Right. So, I mean, who's the number one influencer if you all look exactly the same? Like, I don't really know what that means. So when people, say like, oh, yeah, an influencer, I'm just like, oh, okay.
Right. No, thanks.
Right. I actually have an event in Bermuda that I do every summer with my two friends, Emije Goda and Jishay Tyrrell. And it's actually called Influence the Influencers because figured that anyone can influence anyone. It doesn't really have to do with fashion or anything like that, but I feel like everyone has something to teach someone else.
Yes, definitely. To
Yeah, so I
offer
feel
other
like
people.
yeah, so I feel like the word influencer doesn't have to be like someone who's super popular. And I've seen girls who have like thousands and thousands and thousands of Instagram followers and they just look like everyone else. You
Right.
know, so I feel like the real influencers are the people who actually like take the time out to give a personal impact on someone else's life.
And also like make things their own too. Like you said, not
Absolutely.
being so trendy, but just kind of like taking
Absolutely.
style and like making it their own.
Definitely.
Yeah, completely agree. Um, you've interned for a couple of people on Ireland who are in the fashion industry, which is really awesome for you to get that kind of exposure and experience. And they've taught you like different things and different aspects of the industry, from like purse making to fashion writing, garment sewing, and things like that. Which of these that you learned was like your most favorite to learn about?
Okay, so like I said in high school, I wasn't really sure. I knew I wanted to do fashion, but I wasn't really sure like where I fit in or of course how to morph together writing and fashion. So I kind of went around and interned for basically everyone I knew in the
Right.
fashion industry in Bermuda just to get a feel for different things and just learn. Basically, I was willing to learn. Like I would go to them and be like, they'll be like, "Oh, do you want to get paid?" I'm like, "No, I just want to learn." I guess you know, I have two favorites. So the first would be Style Bermuda with Shantia Seymour.
Yeah.
I was in, I think, my second last and last year of Berkeley when I was a fashion writing intern at Bermuda. That taught me a lot. That's kind of where I figured out, like, okay, this is what I want to do. And I was helping styling photo shoots and then writing different articles. So I really love that. And then second is purse making with Patrice Morgan, who now is Bermuda born.
Right.
So I was helping her purse make and I was filling leather and things like that. So that was really like, now I know how to make a whole purse.
Yes, that's awesome. That's really nice.
And she also had a magazine as well. So that really helped me as well. So those two definitely were very fun and very rewarding. And I learned a lot from those two.
Yes, definitely. And it's also beautiful to see how both of them and their careers have blossomed as well.
Definitely.
Yeah, and it's
So
great.
amazing.
Yeah, it's so great like seeing people start somewhere, and then when you find somebody that you are inspired by and then you see them and you're seeing their journey unfold, it's just a beautiful thing to witness because it just inspires you like, okay, if this person
Yeah.
could do it, like it's really possible. And it's incredible like seeing her
It's so
journey.
incredible.
Yes, like such a blessing. And
Yeah.
it's really inspiring too because she's Bermudian like us, and she's
Yes.
had this fantastic
Yes.
career. So
Yes. And it proves to you that
yes,
even though Bermuda is super, super small, like literally a dot on a map, it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter. Your dreams are way bigger than the island, way bigger than anything. Like it doesn't matter where you came from. It doesn't matter how small the place is that you came from. Like just go for it.
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. You just mentioned Shiana and Patrice, but I wanted to ask you, like, who are some other people that have inspired you when you're creating like style? Because you also have House of Aiyanna, which I would like to talk to you about too. So,
Yeah.
yes, who are some people that you're influenced by or inspired by who are in the fashion industry?
I'm not really sure. Definitely Rihanna. She makes me
Yes.
so happy. Being an island girl as well. And, taking heights and doing amazing things and things like that. And I mean, she's doing it. She's doing music, she's doing fashion, she's doing beauty, and she makes sure that everyone feels like beautiful in every aspect. I definitely applaud her for that. And plus her style is everything. She's
Yes,
different as
through the
well.
roof.
So,
Yes, absolutely.
yeah, yeah. So definitely her, and of course Shiana.
Yes. What's also really cool about Rihanna too is like she started out doing one thing, but I think her taking the money that she's made like from her music and stuff and like
hmm
reinvesting it into her own brand and
Which
branching
is
out
so
into,
cool.
yes,
Yeah.
like different areas of fashion and beauty. Like she's created like she's probably gonna be a billionaire now that
Oh,
she's,
definitely.
yeah, now that she's doing Fenty Skin. So it's just amazing
Absolutely.
like when you see people like starting somewhere and then growing like a real empire for themselves and like diversifying
Absolutely.
their interests and things like that. It's awesome.
hmm
So I wanted to ask you, like, what has been like one of your biggest challenges for you, like in fashion writing?
I don't know, just sticking to it, and proving to, I guess, my family, to Bermuda, to myself,
Yes.
that I can actually do it. There was times, like I said, I just up and laugh, and I was like, I am gonna do this. It doesn't matter, like, even if I get pulled through the mud, like, I am gonna make sure that this happens, and I'm gonna make sure that I go for my dreams. And even still, I haven't even reached my peak, but
Right,
but
exactly. But
like,
you've begun
yeah.
and you're
So
consistent.
yeah, so I just keep going and going and going, and there's been obstacles, there's been what, heartbreaks, breakups, like,
Yes.
know, the
Real life
typical
happening.
real life still happens. Like, even when you go for your dreams, real life still happens. You still, it's still, life still goes on. And I learned that it's okay to cry.
Yes.
Cry as long as you want. Like, cry for days if you have to, but don't lose faith in your dreams. Because it was one point where I, was so upset about things, and was like, okay, I don't want to go to school, and I should probably just should go back home and things like that. And I was like, okay, no, Shantia, you came all the way here, bribed your parents, you made it this far, just keep going. And
Yes.
that little bit, you can have like a grain of salt as faith, but just keep that faith,
Mm-hmm.
and things will work out. Like, it's sometimes you're gonna have bad days, but it's not a bad life. So just keep
Absolutely.
going, just
I
keep
will
going.
snap to that because that's so true. Like you really only need like the faith of a mustard seed for it to really
Yeah,
like blossom. And the
absolutely.
consistency too, like, to just every time maybe something negative happens or you got a no or a disappointment, like to just get up and keep going because
Yup.
we have to. Like,
hmm
life is still happening. We can't like be defeated. So yes,
Absolutely.
it's wonderful to hear that
Yeah,
you've,
you just gotta keep going.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So you became interested in textiles and created a brand, House of
hmm
Aiyanna. Can you
hmm
talk a little about the inspiration behind the brand?
Yeah, so in school I obviously studied journalism and fashion styling, but in my fashion bucket list, I've always wanted to come out with a line. Not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily to have for the rest of my life, but just to create a collection once in my life. I've always wanted to do that.
Right.
So I actually did Bermuda Fashion Festival
Nice.
a
How was that?
few years ago. It was really nice, really challenging, but it was a good experience.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've never done anything. I've never seen a whole, like, I've been maybe, like, seeing a few things here and there, but I've never really taken the time out to sketch something,
Right.
to then, put it into real life, then put it on an actual model, and then, present it in front of people and price it and things like that. So when the opportunity came up for Bermuda Fashion Festival, it was 2 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and I just was like, okay, this is my time. Just do it, and if they say no, it's okay, but just, like, present your stuff. So I
Right.
presented. I sketched out a collection. Of all the different ideas I've gathered over the years.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I presented and then I got in.
Awesome.
And yeah, and then I was actually in London, so I'd have to be Skyped in to the meetings in Bermuda. And then I came back, I think 2 months before the show, shared everything with my aunt, and yeah, fitted my models and presented in front of Bermuda.
That's
And
amazing.
it was really nice to like walk down the runway, and I did menswear, women's wear, and children,
Oh,
so it was
nice.
a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was just so rewarding to do something different.
Yes.
It was definitely out of my element. Well, fashion is my element, but sewing, I had never done
Yes,
that
that's a
before. My
whole
friend,
challenge within
right,
itself.
and not even just one thing, like a whole collection with different body types and different
Mm-hmm.
heights and everything. And it was really nice. I met a lot of amazing people who I still keep in contact with.
Yes.
I had a nice mentor, and yeah, I learned a lot of things. So yeah, that was really cool. I
Yeah,
really liked it.
that's awesome
And
that you were able to
yeah,
do
getting
it.
down the runway was cool. That was fun. And yeah,
That's amazing. Do you think you'll continue to enter in Bermuda
no,
Fashion
I don't
Festival?
think so. No, I
Okay.
think maybe in the future I'll do
Mm-hmm.
another collection.
Right.
That's about it.
Okay. At least you've achieved one of your lifelong dreams
Yes.
early. Definitely got it off your bucket list early for
Yes.
sure. That's
Yeah.
really nice. I'm really glad to hear about that. I wanted to ask you, because I'm sure, with you being a fashion writer, that you keep up with like other magazines and things like that. So we've
Yeah.
like just recently seen Tyler Mitchell be the first photographer to shoot a Vogue
Yes.
magazine cover. Yes.
Amazing.
Amazing. He shot Beyonce. So that was really cool.
Yes.
How important is it for you as a fashion writer to see Black representation in fashion?
It's super important. At the beginning of this year, as everyone knows, the Black Lives Matter movement took storm, and again, I mean, we always matter, but took storm again, and it really made me reflect on Black people in the fashion industry. I actually did a post on my Instagram page about all the different Black designers, editors, stylists, photographers. I named, all these different people that I thought that people should follow and things like that in the fashion industry.
Yes.
Because being in the fashion industry, especially in the UK, you don't really see a lot of Black people. I actually interned for a group called Black Girls in Fashion a
Nice.
year ago. And basically, she just made a platform where models, designers, anyone in the industry was just rewarded and praised and, basically just praising Black people in the fashion industry who get
Yes.
overlooked most times and things like that. And I remember sitting in Fashion Week, and this was my first time getting to Fashion Week. I remember this dark-skinned Black girl was walking down the runway. She looked so beautiful, and these two ladies were in front of me, and they were like, she's so pretty for a Black girl. And I've never really heard that in person. But I was like, wow, this is why we're here. This is why, it's crazy to me that someone had to go and make a platform actually called Black Girls in Fashion. Like I feel like everyone should have a chance to, bloom and a chance to be appreciated and things like that. So for people to, make hashtag Black Girls in Fashion, hashtag Black Lives Matter, it's like, wow, like this really has to be said, like
it does. It absolutely does.
Yeah, so it's like, wow, it's crazy to me that this girl had to make a platform. We kind of went around to all the Black girls, we interviewed them, asked them what they did and things like that, and that really opened my eyes to, the industry. Being in school, you don't really learn that part. But you
but
go
it's
outside
a reality.
Of a classroom. Yeah, you go outside of a classroom and you learn life. So I was like, wow, this is crazy to to, hear her stories and then see it in person at Fashion Week.
Mm-hmm.
It was crazy to see. So every time I see, someone in fashion or the art do amazing things and it's crazy that in 2020 we have a first Black person to do
telling you.
whatever.
Exactly.
It's just crazy to me. So, to see, I think the fashion industry has a long way to go
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to diversity and things like that. But definitely going the right direction.
Yes.
To do.
And I think with you, for instance, like, and other Black people who are showing up, and because the thing is, it's not that we're not there. It's just that we don't have the visibility like other people do.
Absolutely.
And so, platforms like that are needed because it gives us the highlighting that we really need. And that's like one of the reasons why I wanted to have this podcast too, because there are so many people who are doing so many incredible things, but we just don't know. Like we just don't know about it. So that's why I think like, representation is important, because it serves as a reminder that you can too. Like we're here and we're doing it. Yeah, absolutely. I also wanted to ask you, what advice would you give to young people like just starting out, hoping to make it in the industry?
I would definitely tell people to intern and learn as much as you can, because going into school and going into a job and doing different things, you won't learn what you learn at an internship in school.
Right.
I was, I learned so much in high school from these different creatives, more than I learned in school.
Right.
And even though I wasn't paid or I wasn't, anything, definitely do things for the experience. It's fine to go shopping. I always think about this, to go shopping and buy something that's super expensive, rather than take that money and go to the actual place and see how they made this and that, and just get the full experience. I feel I live off of experiences, and definitely just go for it. Like I said before, we come from a itty bitty island, so you have to make a very bigger mark,
Yes.
Put your island on. Definitely remember where you came from, and being from a little island makes you appreciate so much, like everything much more, because going to London, where it's a big city, no one knows you. It's just, you can do whatever, but then remembering, like, I am doing this because I come from a little island where, fashion, growing up, I remember looking for a scholarship, and there were, fashion scholarships there, and I was like, okay, maybe let's do art. Probably like 1 or 2 art scholarships, and it's just like, you have to do more. You have to push harder because you come from a small country.
Yes.
And just keep going for it, and just, even if you think your dreams are way bigger and they're impossible, and you just don't really know where to start, just start anywhere. Go for it.
Just begin. That's it. Just begin.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I remember I saved up all my babysitting money as like my money for London. Like, do it. It doesn't matter where you start, just start.
Yeah, just start. That's it. Just start. I love that. Something else that you had mentioned too, like just the idea of like how we come from such a small place, and that's why it's like so important for us to do well and like be out there. So what I think about, like, when we're thinking about the arts and stuff, because it's not really like a thing that's like pushed as much, I think about like when we walk through a door, like if we leave it open behind us so that other people can come in too, I think that doing that like is really helpful, because it shows that, okay, somebody left a trail in front of me and I could do it too. And that's why I think, like, being from Bermuda, like, we need to see more creatives. We need to have them more visible so that we can see that this is possible, and that Bermuda needs this too. Like, not only that we're just going after our dreams, but I think like it's so much bigger. Like, Bermuda has so many talented people. And I just
Absolutely.
think, I love when I see Bermudian creatives just doing their thing, you know?
Same.
Yes, it's super inspiring. So before we wrap it up, Shantia, because this has been awesome. I've had an incredible time talking to you. But I just wanted to ask you, like, what's next for you and what things can we look forward to seeing from you within the next, like, couple months or so?
I have a lot. I guess more, well, first of all, this pandemic isn't stopping anything.
Exactly.
So, I mean, it stopped a little bit of stuff, but, you know, I feel like this was a good time for everyone to regroup. And at the beginning of this, moving back to Bermuda for this short period, I was like, what am I doing? But it's definitely given me time to, you know, work on different projects, create different things, work with new people. I work with some amazing people so far in Bermuda that I've always wanted to work with. And it's opened new doors for me that I, you know, being in London, I would have never gotten these opportunities in Bermuda. So definitely more projects for me, more everything. Just follow me on Instagram and you'll see more.
Yes, fantastic. So where can people find you? And what's your Instagram handle?
My Instagram handle is Shantia Aiyanna, Shantia.Aiyanna.
Okay.
And then my Twitter is Shantia Aiyanna. And my website will be up very soon.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much, Shantia. I've really enjoyed speaking with you today.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me.
You. Of course, of course. Please share with friends, subscribe, and rate us on iTunes. If you'd like to connect with us, you can find us online at theartifacts.com and on Instagram at theartifacts. If you'd like to send us a message or to suggest an artist that you'd like to see on the show, please connect with us at theartifacts@gmail.com. Thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to sharing with you our upcoming episodes. Peace and blessings. This recording is copyrighted by Jade Hassel, and all rights are reserved.